Brethren in Christ, Laudetur Jesus Christus in Secula. This is Timothy Flanders with the Meaning of Catholic. Jesus is King. Welcome to another week of talking about the spiritual life, which should be at the forefront of our minds as we go through this period that we are living in. It is a glorious period to be alive. In fact, let me read from, let's see, Faith of Our Fathers. This text is excellent. Stuart Chessman. In the foreword by Kwasniewski, he quotes a Carmelite priest who says, "It can give us courage to remember that God from all eternity has willed and chosen that we live in and through this evil age, so that we faithfully hold on to the light of the faith and pass on the torch amidst this unprecedented darkness for our own sanctification and salvation and that of the next generation. Such times form saints of those who are generous and persevering in the divine service." So that should give us, it should give us courage, and it should give us some excitement to take up the cross in this difficult, evil, dark hour. It is a glorious time to be a Catholic. So that's what we talk about the spiritual life. So we're going to get into a basic piece of wisdom that has served me for years, that came from my spiritual father, about making a spiritual discipline plan. And what better time to do that but Septuagesima before Lent. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Just wanted to remind everyone to please become a patron of Meaning of Catholic. If you have benefited in any way from Meaning of Catholic, please support us. This is an apostolate that runs on donations, and your donations help us do what we do. And patreon.com/meaningofcatholic. You can also donate at meaningofcatholic.com. And you get free books. You get access to the Patreon Guild, the community. You also have patron-only shows. In just about a half hour, we'll talk about, is Pope Francis a heretic? Is Pope Francis an anti-pope? So we'll be talking about that and the patron-only show coming up very soon. We were going to have part 12 of our series on Jews and Judaism for patrons. That's going to be rescheduled. So that's coming, God willing, next week. Hopefully, I still haven't figured that out yet. But so that's some of the content that you get access to as a patron. So please become a patron, patreon.com/meaningofcatholic. So let's get into our topic. So we've talked about spiritual reading. If you're following one of the Bible plans, we just started reading Genesis for Septuagesima. Or if you've taken on some of the spiritual classics that we discussed in the past weeks, spiritual reading is definitely a important discipline that you need to work into your spiritual life. So real quick, shout out to Camilio. Welcome, Francis. Francis is in Trinidad and Tobago. Eric is from American Samoa. Welcome, everybody. Jesus is King. So this piece of wisdom is what has really served me in my spiritual life, and I pass it down to you. We've discussed this before at various times, but my spiritual father, my late spiritual father, years ago, gave me this piece of wisdom about forming a plan for Lent, a spiritual discipline. Now, the long term, you need to look at Lent as a way to build your spiritual life to the next level and carry it on post-Lent as well, to the degree that you gain virtues. You gain virtues and disciplines and habits, which are able to be carried on through Paschaltide and into the time after Pentecost. So this is the long-term plan. So you want to intensify Lent, but with the mind that you want to do this long term. And that's the key. The key is getting something long term, which is difficult. It's everybody can have a experience of zeal where you fast really well for one day, or you pray really well for one day or 1 hour or whatever. But it's so easy to just peter out. And this is the key, is that you want to set something up for Lent. So here's the piece of wisdom. The piece of wisdom is this, is that what you do is you look at your state in life, the duties of your state in life, and you have to look at what you have available to you. So if you're a normal layman, everybody's got 15 minutes. You've got 15 minutes in your life as a layman, fulfilling the duties of your state in life. You're a husband, you're a father. Everybody's got 15 minutes. So you look at, do I have 15 minutes? Do I have 30 minutes? How much time do I even have to work on my spiritual life every single day? So typically an easy way to judge this is just to start with a 15-minute increment. Here's the first piece of wisdom is start small. You have to start small. The reason you start small so that you can, what's up, bud? You okay? All right. So the reason you start small so that you can go long term. That's the key, is that you don't want to start big because then you'll fail on the second day or the third day, and then you'll peter out, you'll burn out. So the key is to start small. Okay. So you look at your duties of your state in life. You start small. You look something really easy that you know you definitely can do. You look at it and say, I definitely have 15 minutes per day. There's no excuse that I would not have 15 minutes per day. Even if I wake up late, I can take time and just say, hey, can you take the kids for 15 minutes? I need to do my spiritual life or whatever. Your spouse can help you fulfill your duties, fulfill your resolutions. So start small. What you do is you start small with something that you know you can do, or you're quite sure that you can do it. And then what you do is you give it 2 weeks. Now it's okay. It's okay to change your disciplines, change your resolutions in Lent. And so we'll talk about that. Here's the next piece of wisdom is you give it 2 weeks. You do something small for 2 weeks. So every single day you try to do that thing for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, you evaluate. Is that something that I definitely was able to do for sure? I confirmed it. Now we know for sure I can definitely do it because every single day I did it without too much of a difficulty. Then what happens is once you've determined what you really can do, then you make a full commitment. You say, now I'm going to do this every single day. Now this is 15 minutes is a perfect small thing that you can do long term. So with the idea that I am going to do these 15 minutes after Lent too. So we're going to start doing this now. We're going to do it through Lent and continue on and continue doing it through Lent. Now, so that is the most important thing, is to do something small and do it consistently long term. So at the end of 2 weeks, maybe you've figured out, well, actually 15 minutes just really, that even 15 minutes is too hard. It's too hard to get that done every day. So I'm going to go down to 10 minutes. It's okay to switch your resolution a little bit in Lent, make adjustments for what you can and cannot do. Because what the most important thing is trying to get that long-term discipline, that long-term habit. That's your foundation that you really need to have and build upon as time goes on, and reevaluating that, especially as the duties of your state in life. Maybe you're a young father. Maybe you just got married. You don't have any children. Well, the children are starting to come now, and you've got one child, 2 children, 3 children, 4 children. Suddenly you've got 5 children. Your time frame is probably decreasing more and more and more as this goes on. So you need to be able to adjust as time goes on while maintaining a certain amount of discipline, a certain amount of habit. If you have this foundation of the small, doing that small thing, you've got a habit. So then every Lent, you can just jump on the Lent wagon and add something new every year. And it's not as hard to do that discipline because you have this daily ritual of doing the small thing that's easy. Now, so that's the small thing for 2 weeks. That's the piece of wisdom that I got that's always served me very well. So you just take this, so you look at it. So right up this Sunday is Sexagesima. So we've got 2 more, it's really 1.5 weeks until Lent, but you could take these 2 weeks. You could start with a 2-week plan right here. Start with Sexagesima and then do the small thing, because the small thing is not hard. You want to do that small thing that's not hard to get the basic discipline. The basic discipline, that's the most important part. So you could take these 2 weeks, look at that 15 minutes. And then in those 15 minutes, an critical part of those 15 minutes is your spiritual reading. Doing that spiritual reading, imitation of Christ, spiritual combat, whatever it is that is working for you, do that thing in the 15 minutes and pray. So you do your 15 minutes, you do your spiritual reading and your prayer, and then so you've got there's in another sense you can break down spiritual life in 3 pillars with spiritual reading, prayer, and predominant fault. And we haven't even talked really much about predominant fault, but getting that foundational easy thing, that's the key. Now we're going to wrap up in about 2-3 minutes. Any comments, questions, throw them at me. We'll discuss them. But this is the most critical part. Once you do the basic, the very basic, the easy thing, that's when you add on the difficult thing for Lent. That's when we get into real Lenten disciplines, real Lenten penitential mortifications and fastings and things like that are actually difficult, that you may actually fail. You fail in these things, get yourself back up again, thanking God that he's given you an opportunity for humility, that we can do nothing but by his grace. So that's the most important part. Get the two weeks in, get the easy thing, get that going, and then you can take on greater discipline. So this Sunday is a perfect opportunity for that. Sexagesima, 2 weeks. It's really a week and a half before Ash Wednesday, and then Ash Wednesday goes into the first Sunday of Lent. So 2 weeks is a great way to start this, get this going, get yourself going for Lent. And let's see, Diane says, do you think it matters or whether or not we keep a set time each day for prayers, as in the same time every day? I think it depends on the duties of your state in life. If you have 5 kids, it's hard to do exactly the same time every day. That can sometimes be very difficult. And also, if you place too much importance on the time of day, sometimes that can be something that gets too much importance, so that if you're not doing that one thing in one time of day, then you fail or you burn out. So it's much more important that you do the time, whether you do it at this time or that time. Now, many spiritual writers like to say that the morning is the best time. Now, I think there's a great wisdom to that, obviously. And I'm not going to go against the wisdom of spiritual writers. But for example, like my wife and I'm a morning person. She's a night person. So she actually does her spiritual stuff in the nighttime. That's just a better time for her, because I'm getting pretty tired at 8-9 p.m. I go to bed. She's got her alone time. She can have her spiritual life then. She gets up later than I get up early so we have this a little bit of an opposite schedule in those senses, to have that alone time. So I think it depends on the person as well. Like for me, I can't really function in a really good spiritual, way in the evening. I'm pretty tired. I'm losing concentration, So I think it really depends on your own kind of temperament. Like, what are you, a morning person? What do you what works best for you? I think the morning is kind of the default, but I don't think it's necessarily true for everybody. I think it really depends, basically. But if there's a particular thing, like doing it at a certain time of day, so like it is helpful for me to do some set times, like the Angelus 6-12-6 or 6-12-5. Doing some kind of hour canonical schedule. Monks do that. So it is, I think, helpful for some lay people also to take on some time frames. I can definitely see that. And I do that for some things. So I think it's great to have some marker, but without taking it too extreme, I guess. So those are my thoughts. Francis, I can attest to the reliability of this method. I was able, by God's grace, from being very undisciplined with the liturgy of the hours 2 Lents ago to being very devoted to the divine office today. Great. Thank God. So I mean, this is a great example of thank God for his grace. This is something that grace has worked in your soul, or any discipline that you see in yourself. Humility means conformity with the truth, means I'm going to admit that it's a good thing. Hey, I've got this virtue, but it's not because of me. It's because grace has built this in me. So don't give me any credit. Give glory to God, but God wants to work things in you. And so we'll talk next week. We're going to talk more about how to make Lent difficult, how to take the next level in Lent. So that first step, making doing that easy thing, getting that basic discipline down, that's what you need to start. You have to have the one thing to get this going. That's going to carry you long-term. That's how you build. So that's all we have today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Once again, the patron-only show on Is Pope Francis a Heretic? Is he an anti-pope? That will be coming soon for patrons in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned for that. Let's offer up on Our Father for all of your intentions for Lent beginning, that we offer up our penances in reparation for our own sins, the sins of men. Let's pray. In nomine Patris et Filii Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Pater noster, qui es in caelis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut in nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii Spiritus Sancti. Amen.